Good day, brothers and sisters. Once again, this is Anthony Moore for Your Money More from the Freedmen Descendants of Chicago, formerly known as ADOS Chicago. And once again, we are advocating for the executive order, the 1619 Rapid Relief Executive Order that we are pushing our governor here in Illinois to sign, multi-billionaire Democrat J.B. Pritzker, who inherited all this money. And even though he spent a whole lot of money, reportedly at least $154 million to be elected governor for the first time in 2018, and he's reported and projected to spend even more to be reelected this year. Even with that being the case, we still nonetheless call this dude JB. I wouldn't be governor without the black vote Pritzker, because he wouldn't be governor without the black vote. And yet he, like this system as a whole all throughout this nation, when it comes to black people, specifically those of us who have descended from U.S. chattel slavery, those of us who this 1619 Rapid Relief Executive Order is primarily targeting, when it comes to us, the very people who we give power, the very people we vote in office, the very people who we are the foundation of their political power and the economic power that they yield from that political power and provide to others, the ones who buy them off primarily. Even with that being what it is, they take us for granted more than you could take for granted that it is going to be cold during winter in Chicago. And as a person born and raised in Chicago, I know what the hell I'm talking about. Hell, anybody that's been in Chicago know what it is that I am talking about. And the fact that they take us for granted is by the design of this system. Because here is the thing. Even though JB, I wouldn't be governor without the black vote, Pritzker bought his way into that office. Make no mistake about it. And by the way, when I say that this guy bought his way into that office, I'm not passing judgment. I'm just calling it for what it is, because it is what it is. And in order to get things the way they need to be, and we must fight for them to be, which is us black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slavery, actually being made whole, actually getting our fair share, actually getting the economic power, the political power, the economic sustenance, the safe neighborhood, the things that we deserve, that we disproportionately do not get. We got to diagnose the situation for what it is. We got to see things for what it is. And so, hey, it ain't nothing personal. The same way that these people, these Democrats as a whole, pimp and play us, the JB Pritzkers of this world. And no, I'm not saying vote Republican. That they terrible and horrible too. So it's not that kind of program. But we don't give our vote to them. But we give our vote to the Democrats. Not only that, we are the bedrock. We are the most important constituency. We give them the highest percentage of our vote by far. And in exchange for it, we get used, abused, and misused by design. And so, hey, for those of you who think that this is a meritocracy, for one, politics and economics go hand in hand. Why do you think these politicians sell out all day, every day, in every way? Because they get bought off. Because the people with the economic power, they use their economic power to buy off these politicians to get more economic power, to make the rules, to have the system disproportionately skewed toward them, and decimating the masses and the working class in the meanwhile. And black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves as this nation's bottom caste, intended to be permanent underclass. Hell, when America in general catches a cold, we catch pneumonia. So if the working class in America in general is being decimated, well, hell, black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves, we getting decimated times a million. Because that's the design of the system. Read the book Caste by Pulitzer Prize winner Isabel Wilkerson, where she basically makes the case for how we, black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slavery, are this nation's bottom caste. She even tells a story in the book where our brother Dr. Martin Luther King went to India, which has a much more explicit caste system, and one of the people there welcomed Martin Luther King as a fellow member of his nation's respective bottom caste. And at first, Martin Luther King was taken aback, but then he realized it was true. And guess what? Unfortunately, since then, ain't nothing changed but the weather. But even with, so if y'all think this is a meritocracy, well, let's look at Pritzker and him buying his way into that governor's office. We were $154 million at least, because prior, obviously being governor in any of the 50 states is one of the most coveted political positions in the United States. You starting at the top of your state. And so before this man bought his way into this governor's office, he had never served in political office a day in his life. He had never ran for a political office before a day in his life. He probably never even worked a real job before a day in his life. And yet this man got to be governor. I wonder why. Maybe it's $154 million, but it's also the sellouts that $154 million buy. But even with the sellouts, and even with the propagandization, and even with the media, and even with all the resources and advantages that you can buy with that kind of money, he still couldn't have got us, black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves, to vote against our best interests without us being complicit, without us not going along with a program that's clearly not designed to be in our best interest, that is in fact and indeed designed to be in our disinterest, to profit from our backs and our decimation and our degradation and our subjugation. Okay? So even with him buying all this influence, buying all these people that's going to advocate for him, including these shucking and jiving, stepping and fetching, tap dancing, bojangle, jumping jack, flash, shut our house, need to go, Negroes who call themselves politicians. Because when, as I said before, when it comes to and I'm going to keep saying because it continues to be true, when it comes to Negroes that sell us out, I don't even like to consider them Negroes. I call them need to goes because they Negroes that need to go. Anybody that sell out their own need to go. Anybody that sell out the legacy of our ancestors and our predecessors who fought this fight, who died, bled, went through all kind of unimaginable hardships, hell, and terror just for us to be legally recognized as human, and we still fighting to be that for that. In practice, if not in law. And everything we've been through and still going through, and for them to set out their legacy to the same white supremacist system that put us in this position in the first place and continues to keep us in this position, they're going to set out to them to continue to keep our oppression and subjugation intact and perpetuated. And you one of us, and you come from that legacy, you come from that lineage, hell yeah, you need to go. You need to go pronto. And that's the kind of standard we got to have. Okay? All right? We talking real things right here. And so, like I said, even with this man spending all this money to buy these politicians off and buy all these other levels of power and levels of influence, he couldn't get us. And any time that we don't vote in our specific interests as black people who have descended from slaves, black people who have descended from freedmen, because the freedmen were the freed slaves after the Civil War. So anytime that these people get us to not vote in our best interest, we are automatically voting in our disinterest to the extent that we vote. Okay? All right? So, as I said, in order to hold Pritzker accountable, we got to hold these politicians accountable, and we got to hold ourselves accountable as voters, as participants in this society. Because voting is just a part of the political process, and a lot of the work is the work that you do day to day. A lot of times, the work that needs to be done to get what you need is done before they even get on the ballot, because it's about creating an environment and building up the people and propping up the people who are going to support your interests. So it requires participation on a day-to-day basis. That's just what it is. That's just what it costs. That's just what it takes, because it's all related. So I know. So one of the things, like I said, we've been at this for 2 years because it takes that kind of advocacy, especially when we talk about black people who are descended from U.S. chattel slaves. It takes that kind of advocacy to get anything done on our behalf for our benefit by the design of the system and where they position us to be in this system. This nation's bottom caste intend to be permanent underclass, because you don't get no lower than being a slave. You don't get no lower than being less than human by law. You don't get no lower than being somebody else's property. You don't get no lower than being able to be legally hung, maimed, castrated, lynched for fun, for public spectacle, for babies being able to be stripped from the mother's womb. I mean, for first of all, being raped by the slave master and being forced to have slave master's babies, and then that baby, even though you gave birth to it, not even legally being your child, being somebody else's property. Not to mention little boys being effeminized and sold to pedophiles, and that's just what it was. And the perpetuation of that slavery that's happened since then. And I mean, we can go on and 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 on. And even now, the situation we in, the fact that our vote has been colonized and compromised and conquered like that of no other group, because our politicians have been colonized, compromised, and conquered like that of no other group, is a direct continuation of this 400-year plus boot that they've had on our neck. And no, we not being victim. We not playing victim. We are being victor, because we fight and advocate for what we rightfully deserve and are entitled to, but will continue to be denied unless we fight for it. And y'all, I mean, look how far we've come. That's why I don't have no mercy for these shucking and jiving, stepping and fetching, tap dancing, bojangles, jump jack flash, sell out, house, need to go. Because just look at everything we've had to go through and that we had to overcome and that our ancestors and predecessors endure. I mean, and many of them fought, died. Okay, bled. Shout out to Nat Turner. Just for us to be legally recognized for human hell, forget owning property, we had to fight to be anything more than somebody else's property. Forget getting the right to vote. As I just said, we had to fight just to be legally recognized as human beings. We were legally classified as 3/5 of a human being. Okay? And so to know that we've been through and everything we've been through and that we've had to overcome to get just this far, even though we are economically by design at the bottom, to sell that out, to sell out your own to the very people who perpetuated and invented and constructed these conditions, hell yeah, you need to go. You a Negro, they need to go. Pronto. ASAP. Goodbye. Skedaddle. Adios. And the thing about these shucking and jiving, stepping and fetching, tap dancing, bojangles, jumper jack flash, sellout house, need to goes, is that they'll get mad at me and us for calling them as the sellouts that they are, as opposed to just stop selling out. That's like somebody who's a thief get mad because you call him a thief. Oh man, what that terminology? Why you gotta call me such a nasty term? Why did you have to call me such a horrible thing as a thief? Because you are a thief. Stop being a thief, and we'll stop calling you that, because we will not have a basis for calling you that. So these people want to sell out with impunity, but no, that's the problem. These people feel no consequence. They feel no fear for selling out, which is the way we gotta make it. And we got to call them out. You got to wear that scarlet letter, because if you're going to do those things, then you got to own it at least. So yeah. But like I said, it's like they'll look at me and us for calling them sellouts. Oh, that language it's deplorable. Yeah, now we'll stop doing it. If you don't want us to call you shucking and jabbing, stepping and fetching, tap dancing, bojangle, jump jack fast, sell our house, need to go, stop shucking. Stop jiving. Stop stepping. Stop fetching. Stop selling us out. And prove me wrong. If it's any of these so-called black politicians who, hey, if you ain't no sellout, the onus ain't on us to not call them sellouts when that's what they do. Hey, prove me wrong. I need you to prove me wrong. I'm hoping you prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong, because if you prove me wrong, that means you advocating and fighting for our people. So please prove me wrong. But if these people got a problem with us calling us sellout, calling them sellout, where your record at? Show us your record. Show us, hey, I ain't no sellout. Look what I done did. Let's see what they say. And that's the kind of level that they should be accountable to, and the kind of standard that they should be glad to be held accountable to, because that's part of their job, because they are supposed to be public servants. See, the problem is politics is a calling, but these people see it as a career. Okay, politics is about public service. Service is about fighting for the people, advocating for the people. But instead, they sell out the people by the overall design of this system, and it's going to stay that way until we fight to change it, which is why even if you're not black, even if you are not a U.S. descendant of chattel slavery, you should still support this, because it's the right thing to do, and it's going to ultimately benefit you. Because going back to this 1619 Rapid Relief Executive Order, the thing that we are, by the way, the website is hardbeingblack.info, named after Pritzker's own words when he was offering pandering versus policy, because that's the playbook for Negroes nationwide. And they figure it's enough because most of the time we showed them that it's enough, and these people are users. These people, I mean, they don't give a damn about us. Okay, so as I was saying, it's about making sure that in terms of the 3 federal COVID bills, which all disseminated money to the states, 2 were passed under Trump, 1 under Biden. It's about making sure that we get our fair share of all of them, as well as the infrastructure bill passed by Joe Biden in 2021, with reported $17 billion coming to Illinois. And it's about making sure we get our fair share, at least commensurate with our percentage of the population. And I'm talking specifically about U.S. descendants of chattel slavery. But also making sure the money is spent in ways that are commensurate with, acknowledge, and take advantage of this new, unfolding, still yet to be determined post-COVID, new emerging global economic paradigm, taking advantage of this paradigm shift and its inflection point. Because speaking of the Freedmen and Reconstruction, this is an era of Reconstruction now. Things are being reconstructed, and now is a moment in the era of Reconstruction, in a moment where things to a large extent are in flux and disarray as far as the overall economic dynamics and paradigms. Now is the time for us to have a say for how things are reconstructed. But if we don't make these demands, if we don't fight for it, they're going to continue to reconstruct things. And they call it the Great Reset, have been for some time publicly. They're going to reconstruct things further to their benefit and further to the masses and work class detriment, and by us black people. So we talking about the state investing the money in ways where it's a return, where it provides a return on investment to the state. What's best for the state. The thing that they would be doing if they weren't pimps and panderers. The thing that they would be doing if they were leaders as opposed to professional deceivers. See, politics is a calling, and the problem is we've allowed these people to make it a career. Oh, so they get a badge, they get pats on the head, they get exalted. Look at me, I'm a politician, I'm a special Negro. Yeah, you special, all right, you as special as in especially horrible and terrible. So, like I said, politics, voting, for one, voting is a means to an end, and our ancestors and predecessors who fought, died, bled, got dogs and sicked on them, water holes sprayed on them, and all kind of terrible things that we don't even hear about. They didn't fight to get the right to vote, for us to give our vote away. They always saw it as the means to the end that it was. But we got it twisted, especially and particularly our elders, many who were alive during the Civil Rights era. Because in the words of the late, great comedian Paul Mooney, we fell for the illusion of inclusion. But now that we see that it's an illusion, can we at least acknowledge it and do something different? Because obviously what we've been doing ain't getting us where we want to go, and it's all related. The violence, the problems we see. By the way, one of the things we have done in this over 2 years is help get past the Violence as a Health Crisis bill, treating violence as a health crisis and disease that it is. And we got it signed by this same governor, Governor J.B. I wouldn't be governor without the black vote, Pritzker. And we as an organization, Freedmen Descendants of Chicago, also help craft some of the language that went into it. So we put in that work, we fighting and advocating for you, and we can use your help to do guess what? Help guess who? You, the people. So it's about the day-to-day things you do and voting and having things on the ballot and people on the ballot worth voting for come about from your perpetual and continual advocacy. But it's all related. So when y'all complain about violence, y'all complain about drugs, y'all complain about this, well, the day-to-day politics you do to facilitate and bring about the economic empowerment and economic sustenance that you need, that we deserve, that we have the opportunity to receive from these funds that I just mentioned, it's all interconnected. And so you don't want to fight. And again, we've had to fight all out. We had to fight in our entire 400-year plus history in this country. Hell, like I said before, we had to fight just to be legally recognized as human. We had to fight to get the right to vote that y'all throw away so easily. And y'all think that we don't have to, Then now is not the time to fight. Look where the lack of fighting got us. The end of the civil rights movement should have been a beginning. That should have been a whole new level of political advocacy that led to economic uplift. But again, the white supremacy is very clever because while it gives you one thing, it seemingly gives you one thing, it seemingly gives you something with one hand. In the meanwhile, it's taking more away with the other hand that you're not looking at. And so, yeah, we fell for the illusion of inclusion, but can we at least acknowledge that now and understand that this is a time to fight? It has always been a time to fight, and everything in our history and our legacy and our lineage has shown us that. So why the hell do you think that now you can go without fighting for what's right when we had to fight just to not be somebody else's property? And like I said, we've been at this for for not over 2 years, but almost 2 years, going on 2 years, because we started this around the summer of 2020. And so we ain't no flash in the pan, fly by night, hop along Cassidy-type Negroes. And that's exactly what they have programmed and expect us to be. Hop along Negroes. Hop along Negroes. Election time. It's time to vote people in office who are not going to do a damn thing for you. Hop, 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 hop. It's election time. It's time for you to give us power so we cannot use any of it for your benefit. Instead, use it to your detriment. Hop, 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 hop. It's time for you to give us everything, but for you, we don't give a damn thing. Hop, 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 hop. Negro, you know your role. Hop, 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 hop. It's time for you to do the abuse that you used, the abuse that you used to and accustomed to, because it's the abuse that we have conditioned you to. Hop, 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 hop. It's Operation Kangaroo. Hop to the polls and hop right out our face. How dare you expect us to do right by you? How dare you to expect us to do the things we promised you we would do? How dare you expect us to give you fair exchange for your vote and political capital? How dare you to expect us to do as much for you as we do for other groups who don't even vote in the percentages and numbers that you do? Some who can't even legally vote. Some who are not even citizens. Hop, 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 hop. How dare you expect us to do anything but use, abuse, and confuse and disfuse you, which is what you have been accustomed to, because it's what we condition you to be into. And you know what, brothers and sisters? We got to take that dare, because how dare them treat us to be anything less than what we are? How dare them to expect us to accept anything but the greatness that we will put in this country and on this planet to achieve, as evidenced by the fact that, like I said, even with all the subjugation, degradation, devastation, aggravation, annihilation, cultural appropriation, everything that they have foisted upon us since we were brought over here in chains over 400 years ago on the slave ships, even with all that, the fact that we've come this far, even still being at the bottom by design, shows a testament to the greatness within us, because unless people wouldn't have made this far, and as far as it seems that we have to go, we've came further to get to the point that we are now, so we can get to where we need to go. But we got to do what we got to do. And this 1619 Rapid Relief Executive Order is a means to that end. And like I said, and it's not reparations, but it is about making sure that we get our fair share, as I said before. And as I've also said before, you got to know where you came from in order to get where you're going, if where you are going is better and greater than where you ever have been. Because not only is it a matter of paying homage to and taking pride in and inheriting and embracing the greatness from our ancestors and from our struggle, but it's also about recognizing our trauma and our pain that they exploit, because it's due exploiting that trauma and pain that they get us to vote against our best interests by voting not in our specific interests. But it's also about understanding that we ultimately are fighting the same fight that our ancestors and predecessors fought, just the modern day evolution of it. So even though we've been at this for close to 2 years, hell, we've been in this struggle for over 400 years. And for another 400 years is long enough. So now that it's a new inflection point, now that it's a new emerging, unfolding, still yet to be determined global paradigm, post-COVID global paradigm, let's do stuff differently. Because SETI is doing the same thing the same way, expect to get different results. Hell, what we've been doing ain't been working, so let's try something different. At least we got a chance. We do the same thing, we got no chance. And we do nothing, we damn sure got less than no chance. All right, so this is Anthony Moore for Your Money More. Once again, from the Freedmen Descendants of Chicago. We also go by Freedmen Chicago. Shout out to the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. 1619 Rapid Relief Executive Order. Violence is a Health, Rights, and Disease Bill that we help get passed and craft, as I mentioned earlier. Like, subscribe, because we're going to keep you updated. hit that notification bell, click the links below, which links to a document that we sent to these politicians with cutting edge ideas, ways to use the money to make an investment, to do things differently, to reconstruct our communities, to reconstruct them in self-sufficient and autonomous ways, to get black dollars circulating and recycled and accumulating with the black community. And why is it that they have a problem with that being, every other community is allowed to do that, but specifically when it comes to us, it's a problem because they see us as a group to be pillaged. They see us as a group to be siphoned from. They see us as a group, like I said, to be used, abused, confused, and have our political power disfused. Well, no, everybody else is allowed to build up their self-sufficient, self-sustaining, autonomous economies. We need to do the same. And even when we did build up our own self-sufficient, autonomous economies, like with Rosewood, Tulsa, and countless examples that people even have no idea about, they tore them down just because we was black. No other group had to deal with that. And we did this in a time of we couldn't even vote, where lynching was the norm, damn near legal. And this era of Reconstruction now. Speaking of the infrastructure bill, why are these politicians not building up things and orchestrating things where black companies that build up things in black communities are being positioned to get this infrastructure money and keep it circulating within our community? That's stuff that you got to plan ahead to do, and we should be planning ahead for it right now. And anybody of any other group, any other race who got a problem with it, well, what's your problem with it? Okay, we got to stop accepting things as they are. Stop going along with what they tell us, because they tell us one thing, but they always do another thing. So peace. Like I said, click the notification bell, like, subscribe. Let's go.